or call us at 299-5156. Now, what are you waiting for?
Hi, everybody. Good morning to you and welcome. Welcome to On the Inside. This is where we chat on a Wednesday morning with Steve Williams, and it's always a pleasure to have Steve, courtesy of the Foundation for Human Development. We talk so many different things on this Wednesday. Today it's going to be no different. Mr. Williams, good day to you. How are you doing?
Wonderful, wonderful. Oh gosh. Nice rain, nice weather.
It is, it is.
And of course, well, I could say so, it depends on my viewpoint, right? Because others are not exactly saying the same thing.
Yeah, vantage point.
Yes. So some people are not quite happy with the weather this morning. It has kept them back from doing so many things that they had planned to do. And others are saying, well, I'm inside, I'm under the shelter, I could look outside, I could enjoy the rain falling. So it's the advantage point.
And that is
And that will take me into what I'm going to talk about this morning. A particular kind of mindset that we have. It's a little different, but you could see how it's so different for everybody when conditions and harsh or even not so harsh conditions assail us. We have different kinds of responses. And some of us respond from a particular mindset that helps us to move forward, and others respond from a mindset that holds us back. So I want to talk about this kind of victor mindset this morning. And it's interesting that I driving to work, and the people with umbrellas, this is early in the morning, this is now 5:30, getting themselves out, waiting for taxis to get to work. So that says work is important. I have a mindset that I am going. And then I saw other people, the CPEP workers, in the rain, beginning their work this morning. And they say, well, we have to work. That's a mindset. It's a mindset. Then I had a group this morning, and this group supposed to come in. And all of the calls kept coming, one after the other. Well, I can't make it this morning. I wonder if the rain will affect the weather, if the rain will affect the river. And I wonder if, there'd be too much traffic. And I say, look, better crawl back in my bed, yes, and so on. Two different mindsets altogether. One, quite a productive mindset. In spite of the rain, in spite of the weather, I have to get going. I have to produce something. And the other person is, in spite of the weather or the rain, I ain't doing nothing. I shut down for the day. Different mindsets we have, all of us. And some of these mindsets would determine to a large extent how we succeed or how we fail or how we do well in life. And I want to talk about that. Now, our mindsets are implanted in us from birth. What is a mindset? Well, it's a collection of thoughts, a collection of beliefs acquired over time that shape our habits and our actions. So it's a collection, it's not just a thing. And I'll give you a typical example. All of us have particular mindsets we have that come from belief systems that were implanted in us from childhood. So we have religious belief systems. There are people who come and chat with me, and it doesn't matter what I say, they are convinced that the reason why this is happening to them in life is because somebody is doing something evil to them. And the way out of that is to get somebody to clean that out or put bathe in a river or do whatever it is to get rid of it. So there's some people, regardless of whatever happened, the mindset is very clear that this is how it is. That's a religious belief mindset, and that could go on and on. Then you have those with political belief mindsets that could take up a whole program. In other words, whatever happens, I am for this party. This is my party. And it doesn't matter what the party does, wrong, right, or indifferent, they're going to stay with that belief. That's a mindset. These people can do no wrong. They are always right. And then you have racial mindsets. Of course, racial beliefs in a sense, because we grew up in this so-called cosmopolitan society. We have people who have been implanted with certain beliefs. And sometimes you don't even know how these things are acting on you. You know, some people are told Indian people are like this, and they always this, and African people are lazy and they don't want to work, and Indian people want to work and they're bright and they want to study and do well, and they're always smart people and trying to take all your money. And Chinese people are too much to themselves and they don't care about anybody else but making money. We have all these kinds of beliefs that some of us hold on to. So when we engage people, we engage them from a belief system inside that some of us change over time because we grow up and we know differently, and education helps us with that. But some of us don't change at all. And we hold on to these beliefs as though they're precious gold. And they determine how we succeed or how we don't succeed in a lot of our lives. There's a lady who, Carol Dweck, she is a Stanford psychologist, and she wrote a book on mindset, talking about success and failure and why people do well and why some people don't do well. And I want to quote her this morning because she focused on two mindsets, what is called the fixed or the victim mindset, or the growth or the victor mindset. And she said these mindsets, as I've said to you before, implanted from childhood. No, this is how she looked at the implanting and why some people don't do well, even if they are adequately intelligent, why they don't do well. So let us suppose a little child is in school, and we have many parents are like this sometimes, and the child, first 2 years, you're getting 8 out of 10, and you're getting a 5 out of 10 and so on, and 50 out of 100 and so on. And the teacher in the first report says, this child has average ability. Average ability. Guess what happens? The label begins to take in, and the child is told you are average. Other children are told that they are smart. This one will go far. Bright. I have 3 bright ones in my class. Teacher told me I have 3 bright ones. I said, but you have a class of 35. She has 3 bright ones. In other words, the other 32 are either average or dull, or can't perform. Sometimes we parents make the same mistake. Here's what we do. The child is at home and the child reaches the age of 8 or 9 or whatever the story might be. And you begin to say to the child, well, you're really not so good with schoolwork and thing, And the maths and English just give you a little bit of trouble. You're really good with your hands. You see how you fix that fan? Like surprise the way you take that apart and you put it back together. You will do something good with your hands. So you have again labeled your child at age 8 and age 9 as not being academically worthy, and you are good at other things. Now, this may not be true at all. The child may just be struggling a little bit with the math, and a little bit of help from a better teacher or better person will certainly bring out that talent that exists in the child. But no, we begin the labeling early. And when we begin to label children early, we create fixed mindsets. And fixed mindsets are hard to get rid of. I'll talk about that in a little while, how we can surpass that. Then we have the growing up process. And in the growing up process, the teenage years and the early adulthood years, and even childhood sometimes, we have all these various negative experiences that would come in. This for you, your mother didn't do this for you. Sometimes it's trauma because somebody interfered with you, somebody abused you one way or the other. Sometimes it's intense emotional pain. You're facing the death of this. Somebody, your father got shot and so on. Your mother was killed or died because of some health story and so on. There was a lot of manipulation sometimes in your family's life and history and so on. These very strong negative experiences also shape your mindset. And most of them lead to what is called a victim mindset. The victim mindset is a mindset where you have a mentality that makes you feel powerless. You feel powerless about the things that are happening in your life. And you feel almost sabotaged sometimes. And your purpose in life now is to blame other people. Blame the circumstances in your life. Blame everything else because you are a victim. And when we remain with a victim-like mindset, it's difficult for us to climb out of it because we get stuck in the blame game. You see? And when you begin to feel, let's suppose you're a young boy, you're 18 or 19, and you begin to feel that the world is unjust, unfair to you, the people are unfair to you, the country is unfair to you, the society, the community is unfair to you, your family is unfair to you. When you hold that as truth in your system, it is difficult for you to walk out of it into anything successful. Because then your purpose in life now is to seek attention, validation, sympathy from others. You tend to say, poor me, I don't know what happened. You're always in a position of constantly trying to find a way in which other people can feel sorry for you and other people can begin to help you in that way. A victim mindset is a difficult thing. But there's another part to that. The victim mindset person may actually feel entitled. So sometimes you meet people who, of course, they have been hurt, of course, they have been betrayed, of course, they have been labeled from childhood as dunce or stupid or whatever people used to call them. Yes, and they have internalized all of those things, and that makes them now feel entitled. So I'm entitled to rob you. I'm entitled to take what you have from you because I didn't get it. So there's an entitlement that also comes with the victim mindset. And then, of course, there's the opposite, which is the victim mindset. Now, the victim mindset, the people come from a securely attached environment. They have been upgraded in their lifetime. They have been processed through education in a way that says to them, you have talent, you have ability, you have skill, you can do well, you are a good person in terms of doing this and doing that and so on. So you take control. The victim mindset person takes control of what goes in and what goes out in their lives. They're fully responsible for the results. Responsibility is a big word for the victim mindset. And they're always goal-oriented. They always want to achieve something. They're always looking at the desired goal. They're always thinking and planning and moving ahead. When they face setbacks, exactly that is what it is, a setback. It is not a statement that denounces your ability. It's a setback, and they move forward from the setback. And they confront things with them. So they feel pain, they feel hurt, they feel disappointed, but these are not emotions that drive them into a state of victimization. And therefore, for some of us, if we have to begin, even when you think about, oh, we have to change the education system, correct, and we have to change this and change that, a lot of the change has to do with what we do with our children and our adolescents in those wonderful years between 1 or 0 and about 14 or 15. If we don't get those mindsets right, we're doomed. It doesn't make sense. You could build 400 areas of vocational schools and so on, and you can send them. If my victim mindset is nothing, everybody's to be blamed. I don't care nothing about me. They don't care about poor people in this country, this, and poor people this, and poor people that, and so on. I am not saying that people are not struggling. I'm not saying that people are not poor. I'm saying the mindset is one in which if you switch a little bit, you will move to a point where you can, because many people have. Many people have been born in circumstances where they have been able to lift themselves out only because of the mindset. Only because of the mindset. So how do we change? How do we change the victim mindset? The first thing is acceptance. You come to terms with the fact that you have a mindset, that you have limitations. If you are a 10-year-old and you go, or let's say how we set mindsets in this country is through our SCA or whatever that exam, right? So you are 10, 11, you do your exam, and your mindset tells you, people tell you, your authority tell you, your teachers tell you, your parents tell you that you did not do well enough to get into one of these so-called prestigious schools, the Fatima, the Presentation College, and the Naprima and so on. So you didn't do well enough, right? So you're a victim, you're already being told that you are less than, you're not enough, you're less than. So your mindset is, I am less than. I am not enough, okay? No. If you accept a little bit and you say, I have limitations. Yes, we all do. I have limitations. Then you begin to look at your self-sabotaging dialogue, because that's the key. The inner dialogue in yourself is what carries through, promotes and continues the mindset of being a victim. So you tell yourself all the time, when you think, when you breathe, when you eat, when you do anything, I am not good enough. That's the dialogue you keep repeating to yourself over and over. This one is better than me. My sister is better than I am. My uncle is better. These people who passed at that school, they're better. You keep telling yourself everybody else is better and that you are not enough. If you change the dialogue to I am enough, I am enough, I have skills, I have abilities, I am going to find my abilities and promote my abilities, it's a different dialogue, a different mindset. So the first thing one must do is accept the limitations, because we're not perfect. Nobody has everything in this world, every ability. I never did maths very well, but that doesn't mean to say that I can't add a little bit. And I can say, okay, I don't have the ability to handle accounts, and I don't have the ability for that, but I can manage. I can do other things. And once you begin to change the inner dialogue and the inner statements, because remember, the outer statements and the outer conversations are never uplifting. They're always putting you down. Their teachers, their parents, their family members, and so on, who keep giving you labels. We love labels in this country. We love to, and because though it gives us power when we can give somebody a label. We can tell somebody, you're not this and you're not that, and you average, and you're not bright, and so on. Labels, and you dyslexic, and you all kinds of wonderful terms that we invent. Based on the fact that we've done research and we do tests and so on. Yes, I did a test with your son, and your son is dyslexic. Okay, now what do you do with that? We'll do that afterwards. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is, once we have to move away from the external labeling to internal dialogue of self-promotion, then it begins to change. But as long as we accept only because there may be some truth in some things that people say to us, once we accept that only, then we're in trouble. Even if somebody is having go to a doctor and so on, the doctor says, this is your story and so on. Yes, and the doctor is correct. The tests have shown this has shown that. But you, in your own internal self, must say, I can be healthy. I can be healthy. And you know what? I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do your own little reading, do your own little dieting, change your diet. Make sure you have an ability, take control of whatever your story is like. And that is the difference between victim and victor. And I mean, I'm not talking anything that has not been scientifically proven, because they've done it all the time in terms of health, where you have some people who are given the news and of having a bad diagnosis and cancer or whatever, and the same two people given the same news, but one person decides, this is not going to get control of me. I am taking control of this. And the other person say, poor me, I don't know what to do, I didn't do this, and so on and so on and so on. And the one moves off the scene very quickly, one passes away, the other one is alive. The research is there. I don't have to label it for you. But it just shows the importance of changing the inner dialogue to one where you can take control. So even if the whole society tells you you are this kind of a person and you ain't good and you come from so and so background and you see your father was a murderer and you see your mother was a this, that dialogue should not keep you back from changing your internal dialogue to say, I am worthy. I am enough. I am valuable. And I'm going to prove my value. So I'm going to classes every day. I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to get into the air-conditioned class. I'm going to do this. I am going to show my value because I am. Let me stop there. It was a little bit more to cover, but looking at the time, I don't want to run out of time to give people a little chance to comment.
Okay, no problem. So people, you can get in on the show now. 281-1315. That's 281-1315. We're talking with Steve Williams, and he's here courtesy of the Foundation for Human Development. Talking about the different types of mindset, and how do you work yourself out of it. And I'm happy that, especially in that last part, Steve, because, in listening to the conversation, I was actually wondering that, if you're stuck in this negative mindset or doubting yourself all the time, because there are people like that. I mean, we run across them all the time. But I'm happy that you were able to identify there what someone can start to do to change that negative mindset. So I think my question you answered, but we have someone else coming. Yeah, good morning to you, caller.
Yeah, hey, morning, Steve. My situation, the question, that at some point in time the person must even if you're doing self-improvement, you must stand up to the people who your loved ones and speak to them in a way that, I mean, it can be violent and cuss because it's a dehumanizing kind of thing, but sometimes it's your parents, it's your loved ones, it's your best friends, it's your people around you, and you have to confront them and say, listen, you're kind of, what is this? And how, I think that how somebody goes about that now, because you have to, I'm doing the self-improvement, and I know that I'm not in the rehab theology. I can only change myself, I can't change you. But at some point in time, I have to speak to you about what you have been doing to me is hurting me, and this is what, and so that conflict of, I'm going to hell, but the people around me still toxic about me, how they confront that. It's enough here.
Okay, good. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's a wonderful way of getting to look at it. My suggestion when people say some of those things sometimes is that what people say about you and to you comes from their own experience of you, which is very limited. Nobody knows you in any entirety. Nobody can get into your mind and see what you're actually thinking or understand your intentions, or even get into your heart. Sometimes they can't do that. They can only react to what they see on the outside, and maybe sometimes from what you say and the way you behave, they form their own opinions and so on. So before you even begin the whole process of confrontation, you have to confront yourself about the statements that they're making about you. And sometimes you have to say to yourself, you may be partly true about it. You can see that I am lazy because that's what you see. I don't think I am, but you're seeing a lazy part in me. So the first thing I have to do is accept that there may be one or two parts of me that project itself as being lazy. Okay. If you accept that, then there is no need to win. You see, confrontation sometimes starts with the whole process of I have to convince the other person I'm not lazy. But you don't need to. They're not going to change. They're not going to change simply because they have formed these labels based on their observances and their own projections.
All right, we have a caller there. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Sir Charles.
Good morning, Cassie.
And good morning, Mr. Williams.
Morning.
Right. Now, I'm hoping that what I want to say, it could be looked at in different ways. It could look as frivolous, or it could look as rhetoric. It could be taken quite seriously. But if we separate the words mind and set, I believe we might be coming closer to a solution. While I certainly respect the fact of what you have quoted from the lady there, and your own opinions are worthy of an effort. In other words, we want the good then, and not the bad. We want the success and not the failure. We want the gain, and we don't want the loss. But a great man has suggested that both sides of that coin are problematic, if I could use that term. Because they are both labels. You see, I am going to improve and all of that. Both labels. So that if one recognizes that mind is where all of this is coming from, and that setting anything that we can leave it alone rather than set it. That we can that there's a lot to be said for observance then of what happens rather than insistence of what we should be. That's me personally. I think that might be more helpful. It might be more constructive. Then I don't know what you think about what I'm saying, but I like debate, and I think that can work. Thank you very much for listening.
All right. Thanks very much, Cassie. Go ahead, Steve.
So true. That is so true. Yes, he's correct. Mindset. Separate it. Yes. In other words, it's all about the mind. And if the mind is being controlled and conditioned totally by outside people, other people, and that happens when you're a child, your mind is totally conditioned. You don't have the power of anything else. You're a 5-year-old, it's all about what your parents say, what you see on TV, by what other strangers say, what you hear in school, by what other siblings and so on. That's where your conditioning of your mind happens in a very positive or negative way to some extent. But as you grow older and you grow to take some control of your mind, as your brain begins to expand and your prefrontal cortex begins to grow, then you have a little more sense as to how to manage these things. Some of us never do, though. We remain, and that's the whole question. We remain powerless, and over time, and we never move, we never shift into anything else, and that's where the danger is. That's where the danger is. It's the non-shifting, We can't stop the world from being what the world is. There will always be very negative influences on what we do, but some of us, we can surmount that, Some of us can't.
Okay. Yeah. Hold on a minute, Steve. Morning, caller.
Good morning, Sir Charles. Good morning, Mr. Steve.
Morning.
Morning, Junior.
Yes, man. Let us start by saying to Mr. Steve, thanks for the last week on Wednesday. You would have shed light on what is positive healthy relationships. Right. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to call, but I would have listened. So thanks for that too.
That was good.
Mr. Steve, wow, these things, this topic. So this particular topic on the mindset. Sorry, is really, really, really interested. Now, again, I would like it to go deep, right? Because while you're sharing this, right, it is kind of a surface because, again, as it go deeper, and as you rightfully say, right, so I would have, so I had a friend, right, and the friend, her son is my godson, so I would have promised on his birthday to purchase something for him. And the week coming up, she would call her, you buy anything for him, right? You have anything, others checking and answer. But I saying, what you know me for how much years? I think by now, if you know me, if I tell you I go and do something, I will do it. Right. So anyhow, I had a conversation with her and I said, well, where's I want, me and you good, and if I tell you something, me ain't gonna disappoint you, right? And his friends from school days. So I say she's supposed to have a good idea, and and she would have said to me, my father and them have promised me certain things, and when the time come, I've never gotten it, and she don't want person to feel that disappointment. So I just sharing examples, so like, hey, again, these is things that, and sometimes people have now, and here where I want you to go deeper too, right? Because again,
right? And as you're rightfully saying, how do people come out of these things? One of the ways that I would like to share, you have to come to know who you are. Yes, you're growing up in a home and growing up in a particular culture, right, would shape who you are. But as you rightfully say, as you start to get older, and like for example, right, we grow up, so like I grew up where you grow up on the block and you get so like for example, the police is your enemy. Right? You have police is the enemy because again, but then the police go be your enemy, because then if you're selling drugs and doing stuff, right? That is the wrong thing you're doing, and they are the persons to police what you're doing is wrong. So as you start to get older now, you start to, hey, your mentality to the police is wrong, because in the first place you are doing the wrong thing, but you're doing the wrong thing to survive, because again, that is all you know. You grew up in that particular culture. Right? So again, as you start to get older and say, but wait now, again, and you start to come into yourself, because now I hear why we to go deeper too, because we have professional people suffering these are mindset, because I don't understand. And I was telling somebody, and even people that close to me, they are professionals and they are in the professional industries, and they don't have a voice, and they and if they dare speak up, they're afraid that they'll be victimized. So it goes so it's something really deep and compound, and I hope that is not just a touch and a go, but you could expand on it. I will leave it there because it's too much. Such as our God blessings.
Okay, Junior, thank you very much. Oh,
Is it true?
Yes. Well, at the end of it all, trying to foster change is never an easy thing. So and the mindset is so important. So let's hope that people gravitate towards it. If you been experiencing that sort of negative mindset, where I find it so easy that and most of the times you find a lot of people there. Try to foster something more positive going forward. But Steve, thank you very much for the conversation today. Tell people how to get in contact with you as we go now.
So we are the Foundation for Human Development. We are in Cascade, 36 Cascade Road, Cascade. We can be reached via our email, which is foundationhd@gmail.com. Or you can get us quickly on the phone, 482-6500.